I've never seen anything like it. Donald Trump landed in Qatar on October the 25th. On the 26th and 27th, he was in Malaysia. Yesterday, or I should say Wednesday and Thursday, he was in Japan. And Friday and Saturday, that would be today, he is in South Korea, making news, world news at every stop. And it's just like nothing I've ever seen from a president of the United States.
Tremendous energy.
And that's straight from Richard Lyons. And he is an author of The DNA of Democracy in the Shadows of the Acropolis. Richard, welcome to The Truth.
Thank you, John. Great to be with you.
Have you ever seen anything like this in your entire life? A U.S. president globe trotting to bring peace and trade stability to the world? I mean, I am beyond myself in terms of excitement, inspiration, enthused with patriotism, and just, I mean, I want to make a bigger imprint on the world. This guy is doing it 18 hours a day.
Yeah, and his inner circle calls him the machine. But where, John, in previous administrations, you would see a president go and there would be all this ceremony, and in the end, nothing would be done, right? It would just be, oh, yeah, we're friends, it's okay, sort of thing. In this one, you're right. He stopped in Qatar, met with the emir, and this in the backdrop of Israel having to fight Hamas to disarm them now because they're breaking the peace agreement they just signed. And I think he went there to get Qatar to say, it's okay if Israel has to ramp it up to get Hamas to come to the agreement and agree to what they agreed to. It's okay with Qatar.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia and secures a peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand.
All right, so let's stay grounded in Qatar just for another couple of minutes. Mayan, tell us, what does that emir mean? Who is the emir?
Well, it equates to a king in the Western thoughts of what a king is. He is the head of state.
Yes,
and
now
he has that power.
That ain't like King Charles. He just parades in fancy duds and goes to those elaborate cocktail parties. But this emir, he wields real power, doesn't he? He is like he's King Charles and Donald Trump all put together in one package, right?
That's very well put.
Yeah. So why was it important for Trump on his way to Malaysia? I don't even know whether Qatar is on the way. I mean, I guess it depends on whether you want to fly east.
It depends on which side of the world you go.
Yeah. But is Malaysia, would you fly east to get to Malaysia?
Yeah, normally that would be the route you would take.
But it just seems curious to me that he would make such an effort to stop in Qatar. Why?
Well, I think there's more to this than meets the eye. That old saying.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it is too coincidental that Hamas is continuously breaking the peace agreement they just signed and killing fellow Palestinians who are conceived to be disloyal. So they're breaking the agreement, they're killing their own people, and Israel is saying enough. They've already killed 4 Israeli soldiers in this. And so Israel has to ramp up a response which aims at disarming Hamas. I think Trump is in Qatar to say, look, this has to happen. Do you mind? Can you stand by?
Or maybe he was lobbying the emir to intervene and work with Hamas, because I don't understand, why do Qatar, what do Qatar and Hamas have in common? Why are they perceived to be in alignment?
Qatar has been a critical link between Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah for years. They've been, and I think Qatar, a lot of Hamas's leadership has been in Qatar while the war has been going on with Israel. It's kind of a safe haven. And I think, it might be that, Trump is saying to Qatar, look, if you don't convince Hamas to disarm right now, we're going to convince them, and it's going to be a very bloody thing, and you're going to have to stand aside. I think that might be the key to what's going on.
Wow. I mean, is this not like a Rubik's Cube that you got to try and put together?
John, in our lifetimes, can you take a time and say the Middle East is not a Rubik's Cube?
No, you really
Rubik's
can't. But you invoke the name of Hezbollah, which frankly I have not heard from or about in years, and they're in Lebanon, right?
They are. So Hamas is in the south and Hezbollah is in the north, and they have both been proxies of Iran. And so this is the Iran terror circle around Israel. There are 40 different terrorist groups that surround Israel on all their borders. Hezbollah and Hamas being the mains, and Iran has been funding them. And you can trace this back to Obama sending money to Iran. You can trace it back to Biden unfreezing assets. But those things have been going directly to Hezbollah and Hamas. Now, what happened over the past year is that Israel defeated both Hezbollah and Hamas. Trump went in and took out Iran's nuclear capability. And so this has fundamentally changed the whole Middle East. And he's now pressuring Qatar, I think, in this visit to say, you either get them to disarm, that is Hamas, or you have to stand aside.
Are you resolute in your view of Israel versus Hamas?
Yes, absolutely so. Hamas exists for no other reason than to destroy Israel. So Hamas, since they took power in over the Palestinian population in Gaza, has been using all the money that goes to Gazans and all the aid to arm up and make war.
So I have my views almost morph, and they seem to be fluid. And I'm like, I take pride in being one of the most decisive people that I know. I mean, I will wait a long time to make a decision until I collect all the data and get a firm conviction one way or the other. And then I listen to my head, I listen to my gut, I make a decision, and I'm usually right. I am so freaking confused on the Israel and Hamas. And I don't know why I say Hamas. It's really Palestine. But Hamas, I guess, is the governing body of Palestine. I find it incredibly difficult to believe that the Palestinian people would sanction Hamas to be its leaders. I question whether they just stole power or whether they were given it. But
it goes back to around the year 2000 when Israel gave Gaza back to the Palestinians. The moment that happened, Hamas seized the opportunity to infiltrate Gaza and become the de facto leadership on the way to having elections where they were or were not legitimately elected. It depends on your point of view.
Well, it's not a point of view, it's a factual determination. I mean, either they did or they didn't, but then you have to ask, was the election legit? Just like you have to ask whether Biden was the legitimate president of the United States. I happen to have seen a lot of facts in Georgia that lead me to the inescapable conclusion that Georgia was stolen. I think if it's fair to ask, if Georgia was stolen, does that mean that Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and other swing states were stolen as well? But that's a subject for another day. But let's get back to, so here's where I'm coming from, Richard, and I am legitimately seeking knowledge on this point. But you know, about 2 weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago, there seemed to be a shift of public opinion away from Israel in favor of the Palestinians, because we were told repeatedly and unrelentingly that Israel was committing genocide against the Palestinians. I bought the narrative, and I also learned that Israel had 2,000 Palestinian or Hamas hostages. We had never heard that before, but all of a sudden, bam, this revelation comes out. And then that led me to ask further, well, how did Israel treat its political prisoners, which is what they called them, while
Yes.
we call Hamas's prisoners hostages. There seems to be a inconsistency there. And so I listen to these words and I try and piece them together and read between the lines. And what I concluded at that time was there are no white hats in this conflict, that they're equally bad. And I made that comment, I think they were Jewish, on a broadcast I was invited to come on this week. And they really did hit me in the gut when I said that. And they went through all the facts in the timeline.
Yeah.
And then I walked away and I said, I think I was sold a bill of goods.
Well, here's a couple of things.
The reality is that Hamas went in and killed hundreds of people on October the 7th at that pop festival, and they have been savage, which was my perception. But then you had people like Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly that were sort of leading us off that path. These are people I like and respect. Sort it out for us.
All right. First of all, it was over 1,200 people were butchered.
Yeah.
On October 7th.
Yeah.
And then hundreds taken prisoner, right? Underneath the ground in a literal hellhole, where many of them died there. Then you had Israel going through Gaza to get the hostages back. And one of the best experts, and I can't remember his name, I wish I could, he's from West Point. And his speciality is urban warfare. And he said the way the Israelis have been, and the IDF have been carrying out this operation is the gold standard for not killing civilians, for finding your target and taking them out. And now we're at this point, John, where to get how many? Just dozens of hostages back, and many of them dead bodies. The Israelis are releasing 2,000 prisoners of war that are Hamas, and most of them are terrorists. So you see the disproportion here. Hamas is killing people wholesale. Israel's losing soldiers to save Palestinians.
Well, Richard, your explanation of why President Trump stopped in Qatar certainly resonates with me, and that makes a lot of sense. And I guess the proof will be in the pudding. We should know soon enough whether we're going to get real peace. Now, I know this is kind of ludicrous, but, it seemed to me that when Trump, in Trump 1.0, dropped that big bomb into the mountain in Afghanistan, it turned a lot of heads and got some attention. Is that not a possibility in this skirmish? I mean, could we just really get this over with in a hurry? If we dropped one of those big, beautiful bombs right in the middle of Grand Central for those tunnels in Pakistan and Gaza, and just
I think,
shut them down.
He already did it in Iran.
Yes, he did indeed. Yeah.
To the surprise, I think, of everybody in the world. And that sent a clear message. That's when it really turned over. And when and our relationship with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, all these countries are more afraid of Iran than they are of Israel. And so when he literally, instead of Biden and Obama, who were literally paying Iran to build their nuclear capability, when Trump punched him right in the face and took out that capability, I think the whole world noted it. And it's when the tide turned toward peace. And so I think now you have Qatar, and they are something like the Switzerland of the Middle East. They're diplomatic. They're in between everything. And I think Trump went there purposefully to say, look, if Israel has to do this thing and Hamas will not put down its weapons and let us take the weapons, we're going to have to go take them ourselves or let Israel do it.
Yeah.
And we need you to step aside and just let it happen. Otherwise, it's another bloodbath.
So what inference do you draw from the fact that Obama gave Iran billions of dollars, and then that frickin' Joe Biden, the illegitimate 46th president of the United States, gave him more money? I mean, where is their mind? What is their motive?
Well, what began with Obama, which was a first time, was that he sided with Iran. He sided with the terrorist country.
Yeah, he went there and apologized.
He wanted Iran to exercise hegemony in the Middle East, contrary to Saudi Arabia, contrary to Israel or Egypt. He went with a Shia majority country that's radicalized. And that was surprising. He stuck to it with the JPCOA, if you remember, John. That was money in return for slowing down the nuclear program. What it actually did was subsidizing.
It's just mind-boggling that somebody could be that irresponsible. And really, I mean, it's anti-American is what it is. So Trump left Qatar and went to Malaysia, where he worked on peace between Cambodia and Thailand.
Right.
What was the result? Did they sign a treaty of sorts, or what is the outcome?
In the general, they're calling it the Kuala Lumpur, and that's a city in Malaysia, the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord. And this, again, was a war between two countries that, it's kind of like Israel and Gaza. And what Trump does, and what's really wonderful about what he's doing is he creates peace through commerce.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like the Pax Britannica.
Yeah.
If you go back that far. He is creating peace among different nations in order to be common commercial partners with the United States. So he's making these pacts between Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, etc., and they are agreeing to put down their arms in favor of peace and prosperity. If you can imagine that, I think
it seems to be working pretty darn good. He claims solving 8 of 9 wars with only one remaining. I wonder how much it's going to cost to resolve that one, or what the incentives will be. So
it's better than paying for war.
Yeah, for sure.
Paying for peace.
Then he hopped on over to Japan, where he met with the new lady prime minister of Japan.
Yeah.
And they seem to have an extraordinarily good rapport with one another.
I'm very excited about her because she's called the Iron Lady of Japan, the Margaret Thatcher of Japan, which would, if the Japanese economy is so indebted that they are in a kind of a malaise, and they are suffering the same thing that other countries suffer from, which is, too many benefits to persons who don't produce in their countries. And so if she is like a Margaret Thatcher, she will privatize everything and get the economy moving again.
Be interesting to know how her relationship is with Susie Wiles, who they call the Ice Lady in the White House because she's got ice water running through her veins. So then he hops on over to South Korea for a 2-day summit there, and he's just making trade deals left and right. And this all seems to be kind of the warm-up act for meeting Xi Jinping and doing a deal with China.
Well, this is if you take his trip, every stop he's made and every agreement he's made is a ring around China. And he's exacting from the countries around China that they will not accept transshipments from China of Chinese goods to ship to America, which they've been doing to escape tariffs. So that's number one. The second, the critical minerals agreements with all. And then third, which is the coup de grace, John. There is an agreement now with South Korea that they will invest $300 billion, $350 billion in shipbuilding in America. Now, why is that important? It's because China's Navy is producing so many ships a year. We are now going to get help from South Korea to rebuild our own Navy, to counter China, and this from a neighbor of China. So if you look at the rare minerals he's getting and the shipbuilding, the investment from Japan, which was another $350 billion, Toyota itself is going to invest $10 billion building factories with American workers in America. So this is all, it's a remarkable presidency through 9 months.
I couldn't agree more. And it's just absolutely undeniable that he's like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, I went on a trip to Europe. I flew from London back to West Palm Beach, and it took me 2 or 3 days to recover from jet lag. He's gone on 1, 2, 3, 4 trips, and presumably a fifth in a week. And
I think he travels so much he can't have jet lag.
I think the bet he's got on Air Force One beat my business class seat a little bit, so he may have slept better than I did. But he's just. We are so fortunate to have a president that's willing to tackle these tough issues, and all for the betterment of our country.
And in the last 9 months, it's gone from night, literally the Biden night, to daytime in America.
The Biden nightmare. I think you left off a word.
Nightmare. That's better put. Yeah.
So what happens with China now? What do you see?
Well, they are in a box because we are getting everything we need from their surrounding countries of all the gadgets and plastic that they have been making and selling in our market and sometimes dumping in our market. And we're going to get the rare earth minerals from Japan or from Malaysia or elsewhere, or Australia. He just signed that deal.
And don't forget the Ukraine. We got a mineral deal with them.
Mineral deal with Ukraine. And so he's going to go into China and he's going to want, I think, first and foremost, stopping fentanyl production.
Yes.
Period. And I don't know if a lot of your listeners know, but there are literally 2,000 Chinese nationals on the northern border of Mexico making these fentanyl pills and getting them into America. And if it's with Chinese Concord, that has to stop first. Second, he's going to, the mineral elements deal, he's going to want the barriers to come down. He's going to want them to take their barriers down to American trade. And all of these things are good things, and it puts China in their place.
Two things occur to me as you described 2,000 people making fentanyl on the Mexican northern border.
Yeah.
That feels like an act of war to me. They're sending lethal drugs into this country. I'm told that we already have enough fentanyl in the U.S. to kill every living American. I mean,
yes, that's true. That's true.
Is that not so? Am I exaggerating the significance of the Chinese doing that?
You are precisely right. And so they had a convocation at the White House just a couple of days ago. It seems like, Trump's doing all these other things. Mm-hmm. They had a convocation, and Mike Hegseth was put on the phone, our Secretary of War. And he said, thank God for the last 2 decades, our armies have been fighting battles on foreign battlefields for the sake of other nations. We, meaning the whole administration, is treating this fentanyl business and the narco states of South America and China, and they're treating it as a war. He said they're going to bring everything they brought to bear against ISIS or the Taliban, all that ability, they're going to devote to the war against these drug cartels inside America and outside America. So I thought that was very heartening.
So the other question I have is, why in the hell are we allowing, or why is the Mexican government allowing this to happen on their soil? And aren't they running a pretty big risk of alienating their best trading partner?
Well, we might be their best trading partner, but inside Mexico, the cartels have a power that's equivalent to the power of the mafia in Sicily.
Mm.
And so, as the mafia in Sicily will take out judges and take out police captains and take out anybody who informs on them, I think Mexico has that identical problem.
Amazing. Well, Thank you so much, Richard, for coming on today. The author of DNA of Democracy and Shadows of the Acropolis. And you have just given us a brilliant insight into so many world problems that we're dealing with today. And it is truly an honor to have had you on.
Oh, thank you, John. It's a big world. Thank heaven Trump's a part of it.
Well, how do you keep up with this stuff? I mean, I'm just amazed at your level of knowledge and insight.
It's just I know how to source things.
Yes,
is a good way to put it. And your flag behind you, it looks beautiful, and right in the middle it says the truth.
Yes.
And it depends on where you go to find the truth.
100%. No, that is a very insightful comment and truism in itself. So you've got these two books. How long have they been out, and how are they doing? Where do our readers or listeners find them, and where can we follow you?
Okay, well, it's a 3-volume series to date. There's a 4th that's going to come along. The first volume, John, is the DNA of democracy and America. I take all the instances of democracies and republics that informed our Constitution, and I make those dramatic tales and how they are woven into the fabric of who we are. I then extend from the Constitutional Convention and the Revolution to the Civil War, when so much sacrifice, over 1 million casualties occurred, in order to correct our Constitution, to add the element from the Declaration of Independence that all men and women are created equally, right? In volume 2, and it's this one, it's called Shadows of the Acropolis, and it talks about the growth of socialism in our government over the past 100 years, beginning with Woodrow Wilson. And at the end of this book, you find what socialism is and has been for the last 10 years as it attacks Trump. And it is a detailing of how socialism just illegalizes its political opponents, puts them in a target, and tries to put them in jail. And it's exactly what they've been doing to Trump.
I totally agree. And, his detractors say, oh, he's just engaged in retribution. And I call foul on that. The difference is Trump was accused of listing Mar-a-Lago for an inflated price. This Judge Ignoramus, who was a drum teacher who turned judge, he needs to go back to teaching the drums. I hope he's better at that than dispensing justice. Declared that Mar-a-Lago was worth $18 million. Well, we did a tour of Palm Beach a year or so ago, and we showed our viewers and listeners every house in Palm Beach that was worth $18 million. Let me tell you, there's a vast difference between those and Mar-a-Lago. Letitia James, however, I don't know what defense she's going to have for claiming 2 homesteads in 2 different states. She must
primary residences.
Yeah, she must be able to live in 2 places at the same time. I don't think that dog hunts, as we say down there here in Georgia. But listen, Thanks for coming on today, and it's been a pleasure.
Great to see you, John.
Thank you. Look forward to a next opportunity.
Okay. Bye-bye.